Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about the hardware that absolutely refuses to quit. I am talking about those grueling range days. The ones where the heat mirage coming off your barrel makes the steel target completely dance. You have run the gun so dry that it smells like burning carbon and hot metal. But the ejection port just keeps violently throwing brass into the dirt without a single hesitation. We are avoiding the safe queens today. No custom race guns with tight tolerances that choke if they catch a breeze. The title of this video is 6 Bulletproof Firearms That Refuse to Die, and we are going to dive deep into the absolute workhorses of the firearms world. These are the blued steel and polymer survival tools that will drag you out of a bad situation. So grab your iPro and let's get into it. Number 6. The Romanian WASR-10. In a chaotic self-defense scenario, cosmetic perfection means absolutely zero. The WASR-10 thrives on pure, unadulterated slop. I have seen guys field strip these in the dark in under 10 seconds. You pop the top cover, pull the recoil spring, and yank the carrier. That is it. No microscopic pins to drop in the tall grass. You are looking at a street price right around $1,070. And for that money, you usually get wood furniture that looks like it was carved with a rusty spoon. Sometimes the front sight post leans a little to the left, but the clearances inside that 1mm stamped receiver are massive. You could practically pour a bucket of gravel into the action. That overgassed long-stroke piston will violently cycle the bolt carrier group right through it. Those front venting gas blocks blow the carbon out before it can foul up your chamber. And the receiver rivets? They are perfectly placed to let muddy water bleed right out of the chassis. The barrel and chamber are hard chrome lined, so if you are shooting that nasty corrosive Cold War surplus 7.62x39, just flush it out with water. Those heavy steel magazines double as impact tools. I have personally watched a buddy use an AK mag to hammer a stubborn target stake into the ground. Then he locked it into the magwell and dumped 30 rounds without a single malfunction. You will get about 4 MOA accuracy out of it. Long after a tightly tuned M4 seizes up from dust, the WASR-10 just keeps chugging. Number 5. The Heckler & Koch VP9. The German engineers at Heckler & Koch are famous for overbuilding their weapon systems, and their flagship polymer striker-fired pistol is no exception. A lot of striker guns feel like holding a literal 2x4. Not this one. Heckler & Koch gives you 9 separate grip panels. You can swap the back straps and side swells until the frame literally melds into your hand. When a 9mm fits your hand perfectly, your recoil management drastically improves. The cold hammer-forged barrel features polygonal rifling. It is paired to a heavy-duty captive recoil spring that is specifically timed for NATO-spec ammunition. Whether you feed it spicy plus P defensive hollow points or weak training rounds, the extraction is violently consistent. Early on, the internet complained about the gun failing in deep water submersion tests. Heckler & Koch listened, upgraded the firing pin channel with drainage ports, and beefed up the internal springs. Now, the VP9 is a waterproof tank. The slide is machined from cannon-grade steel and treated with a hostile environment nitride finish. And I have to mention those rear charging supports, affectionately called the ears. If your hands are bloody, muddy, or you are running thick tactical gloves, those wings give you massive leverage to rack the slide. The factory trigger breaks cleanly right around 5.5 pounds. There are European law enforcement agencies documenting over 80,000 rounds on original barrels. You can usually find a standard model for about $700, or the optics-ready versions for around $780. If you want elite ergonomics mixed with bomb-proof reliability, you need one. Number 4. The Glock 17. You cannot talk about indestructible firearms without bowing to the Austrian king of polymer. Back in 1982, traditionalists mocked Gaston Glock's invention. They claimed the plastic frame would shatter under pressure. Fast forward to today, and it remains the gold standard for global law enforcement. A Gen 5 Glock 17 will run you about $539. The genius of the Glock is its absolute mechanical simplicity. You have exactly 34 parts inside this weapon. Fewer parts mean fewer potential points of failure. The polymer frame that everyone used to fear actually acts as a massive shock absorber. It flexes under recoil, which extends the lifespan of the locking block and slide. The safe action system uses 3 distinct passive safeties. There are no manual thumb levers to forget under adrenaline dump conditions. The Gen 5 brought us that dual captive recoil spring system, taking the snap out of the recoil impulse. Throw in that incredibly tough NDLC finish, and you have a gun that defies rust. I know a rangemaster who kept a Gen 3 Glock 17 in a dusty storage shed for student use. Thousands of rounds, 0 cleaning, and bone dry. The carbon buildup looked like thick black asphalt, yet it never suffered a single stovepipe. The loose internal tolerances are highly intentional, giving sand and debris a place to go without binding up the slide rails. Armorer manuals will tell you to change the springs at 5,000 rounds, but I have seen rental guns hit 20,000 rounds on factory springs without a hiccup. It is a life-saving tool that thrives on pure neglect. Number 3. The Ruger GP100. Sometimes you just need a heavy chunk of American steel. This is a double-action revolver that is built like a bank vault. Most modern revolvers lock the cylinder at the front and the rear. Ruger decided to over-engineer it and added a third locking point at the bottom of the crane. That triple lockup means the cylinder timing stays perfectly aligned. You can shoot punishing 125-grain magnum loads all day long. The frame is cast from a single solid block of stainless steel. There are no fragile side plates held together by tiny screws to crack under pressure. Ruger also ditched the traditional flat leaf springs inside the action. They utilize heavy-duty coil springs instead. Coil springs will compress right over sand and carbon without breaking. If you drop this beast into a muddy riverbed, you can shake the water out and keep firing. I have seen competitive wheelgun shooters run 35,000 rounds of heavy, hard-cast hand loads through these. The cylinder gap never widens, and the trigger pull remains completely smooth. The cylinder chambers are cut extra thick to completely enshroud the case head. If you accidentally run an overpressured reload, this gun will not grenade on you. A brand new stainless 7-shot model will set you back about $1,129. You can hunt down an older blued 6-shot for around $850. Either way, you are getting over 40 ounces of .357 Magnum stopping power. Number 2. The SIG P226 MK25. When the Navy SEALs are picking a sidearm to take into hostile environments, they do not care about marketing. They submerge guns in the ocean, drag them across the beach, and shoot them to failure. This pistol survived that gauntlet. It traces its bulletproof lineage all the way back to the military trials of the 1980s. While competing aluminum frames were fracturing under high round counts, the P226 held together. SIG uses incredibly wide bearing surfaces on the slide rails. That geometry distributes the violent recoil forces evenly across the entire frame. The stainless steel slide gets a heavy nitron finish, but the real secret is inside. Every internal component is phosphate-coated for extreme anti-corrosion protection. Even the springs inside the magazines get treated. I have spoken to guys who deployed with these in the sandbox. They would be coated in fine Iraqi moon dust, wipe the feed ramp with a thumb, chamber a round, and go on patrol. The double-action trigger is heavy and deliberate for safety, but that follow-up single-action pull is incredibly crisp. And if you get the Legion, the reset is an insanely short 1/8 of an inch. It cycles 147 grain subsonic rounds just as easily as cheap ball ammo. Military armorers have documented certain duty pistols passing the 3 million round mark over their service life. They just swap the barrel every 25,000 rounds and keep shooting. The standard MK25 runs about $999. The single-action Legion variants fetch closer to $1,300. If your life takes you into extreme, salty, gritty environments, this is the gun you want on your hip. Number 1. The CZ75 SP01. Forged in the Czech Republic, this pistol was engineered for pure combat duty. You are looking at one of the most rugged, heavy-duty, steel-framed 9mm on the planet. This gun weighs an imposing 46.5 ounces empty. It features an extended dust cover that puts the weight completely out near the muzzle. When you press the trigger, the muzzle barely twitches. But the defining feature of the CZ75 family is the slide design. The slide actually rides inside the frame rails, not over them. That gives you a vault-like lockup with massive full-length rail engagement. One famous endurance test pushed an SP01 to 50,000 rounds of hot ammunition over 5 years. The only parts that surrendered were a single slide stop and a firing pin retaining pin. The frame never cracked, and the 4.6-inch cold hammer-forged barrel kept its accuracy. The classic Browning tilt barrel lockup features a deeply polished feed ramp. It feeds wide-mouth hollow points, flat-nose lead, and standard FMJ with zero hesitation. Those steel 18-round magazines can take severe drops on concrete and keep feeding. A lot of us in the industry drop in a Cajun Gunworks trigger kit to refine the pull without sacrificing ignition reliability. The heavy polycoat finish is highly resistant to holster wear and toxic sweat. That low bore axis, combined with a stout 16-pound recoil spring, means the gun tracks flat and fast. MSRP sits right at $949, with street prices around $800. When it comes to a sidearm that will absorb decades of abuse and ask for nothing in return, the SP01 is king. So there you have it. 6 bulletproof firearms that absolutely refuse to die. We are not talking about fragile range toys or Instagram props. We just covered the rifles, revolvers, and handguns that real professionals trust when failure is a fatal option. These are the steel and polymer tools built to survive the absolute worst conditions imaginable. Now it is your turn to sound off. What is the most indestructible gun sitting in your safe right now? Did your favorite make our list today? Or is there a rugged sleeper out there that I completely missed? Let me know your experiences down in the comments section below. I always read through your stories, and we might feature the best ones in an upcoming video. If you found this breakdown helpful, do me a favor and smash that like button. Share this video with your range buddies. And make sure you subscribe to the channel for more straight shooting reviews, tactical deep dives, and expert gear talk. Stay safe out there. Keep your magazines topped off, maintain your situational awareness, and trust your gear. I will see you guys on the next one.